So which is better, a one-stop shop contractor, i.e. a main contractor, or hiring your individual trades? This question often comes up for me when I'm speaking at events or on a podcast or creating some content around the topic working with property developers. Most property developers, the way that they want to deliver their refurbishment projects is, in my experience, they want to go down the road of the individual trade route. And before we get into what's better, which is the better of the two, it's important to understand the risk when you do this. So your individual trades approach, what does that mean? That means that you as a client, as a developer, are going to go out and hire your own electrician, your own plumber, your own plasterer, your own bricklayers, your own scaffolders, your own roofers, etc., etc., etc. And when you do this, it's really important to understand the compliance risk that you take on, which we're going to come back to. What I want to focus on first is to go back to the original question. The original question being, which is better? Now, also, again, in my experience, when I probe this question, when I get asked it, what we really find is nobody understands when they ask the question of which is better. They don't understand what they actually mean by the word better. What I've uncovered and what I've discovered after lots and lots of studying this question and people when they ask this question is that when they say which is better, what they really mean is which is cheaper. Because which is better, it stands to reason that for me, in my experience, and what my understanding of the word better means is I want what's easier. I want what's going to be the less amount of time and energy effort required from me. So which is better becomes for me the one-stop shop contractor. The person that I contact and say, hey, Mr. Builder, Mr. Contractor, deliver me this whole project. I'll see you at the end. Now, for me, that is better because of my understanding of the word better. It's better to deliver a project like that than it is to have all the chew of materials, trades letting you down, little smaller subcontract orders, managing cash flow, managing your payments, quality checks, in-house fighting on the project, because remember that this is a people game. So for me, better is the one-stop shop contractor. But let's, again, move the word better to one side and ask the question of which is cheaper, because that is, if we're all being honest with one another, that is the real question, which is cheaper. So let's jump into that topic. Let's look at main contractor approach. So a single point contractor. Now, this belief that one is cheaper than the other comes from this very thing. So if you go to a single builder, a main contractor, someone that's going to manage and take care of everything, they're going to give you one big number. And we'll use 40 grand as a point of reference. So that one builder is going to come back with a quote that says £40,000. But they're going to take care of everything in that process. The materials, compliance, submissions, labour, skips, waste, scaffold, liaison, a whole host of things. And within that 40k, you've got the lot. You've got everything all packaged up. Now, where the belief comes from when we believe that the individual trades approach is cheaper is because the individual trades approach is going to be a sum total of lots and lots of different quotes. So let's say we hire on this particular 40k project, we're going to hire a kitchen fitter, bathroom fitter, plasterer, new roofer, boiler to be replaced, etc. And all those little quotes come together, and let's say they come to 31 in total. Now there's a belief that the 31k quote is now going to be cheaper than the 40k quote. And when we look at that on paper, that's one number is smaller than the other, and therefore we deem it to be cheaper. But here's some real serious considerations to take into account when it comes to comparing the two. Because in truth, they are not yet comparable. We've got 40 over this side, and we've got 31 over this side. We now need to look at what's included, what's excluded, and what assumptions have been made. Now, first and foremost, we've got to jump into each of those individual quotes and really dig into the detail. Dig into the detail of what they've included. I'll say it again. What they've included, what they've excluded, and what assumptions have been made. For example, the main contractor is going to have taken into consideration, this is just one example of many, it's going to have taken into consideration any asbestos that they may encounter. So let's say they rip out the kitchen, asbestos removal is all included in that one-stop shop quote because they're going to do everything for that quote. Now when we jump over to the individual kitchen fitter line item, you'll probably find that that is excluded. And therefore you've got lots and lots of opportunity for these smaller subcontract individual quotes to create extras on your project. They may not be creating them, they may just happen, whereas the fixed price approach is likely going to have absorbed a lot of that. Now, again, we've got individual trades on this side. What we also then must consider is our time involved. So not only have we got this 40k quote over here, these now individual trades, I guarantee you, you could be the best project manager that God ever put breath in. Now, if you are going down the individual trade route, you will take longer than you will do if you've gone to a main contractor. Because of the transition between trades, because of the overlap, because of the in-house battles, because of people working on top of each other, there is lots and lots of things that are going to impact the time period in which your project is going to take if you go down the individual trade route. Which, and this is also not for me to put you off, by the way, I should have said that at the beginning. This is not for me to put you off going down the individual trade route. It's to make you aware of the risks involved in operating in that manner. And we haven't got to compliance yet. That's going to come later on. So, individual trades, that, as I've just said, that's going to take longer. And if it takes longer, you've now got enduring prelims as a business owner. The project's going to take longer, so therefore your opportunity costs are also going to have a value. You've also got the time that it takes in order to start creating an income or to sell the asset at the end of the project. And this time period that's taken, the longer the project endures, the more costs that you're incurring, the more involvement you're going to have as well. So you're going to have to get involved with the nitty-gritty, and you're going to have to be on site, checking in on quality, checking in on standards, checking in on people meeting the program. You're going to be backwards and forwards with invoices and managing cash flow and all of these things as well. And once again, I'm really making this sound horrible. It's not horrible if you've got an approach. If you've got an approach to delivering it in this manner, then please do go for it. Compliance aside, which again I'm going to come on to shortly. So going back to time as well, we've got to ensure if you're managing individual trades that you have the time availability to do that, to actually get involved. If you don't have the time available, maybe you're in a full-time job, maybe you live abroad, maybe you live at distance. If you haven't got the time to do that, I would strongly recommend that you either A, did not choose that approach, or B, get someone close to be your representative, someone that's competent, someone that's qualified is an arguable word, so someone that's competent, someone that's got the experience, someone that's got the knowledge. Also, be completely aware that if you're in your individual trades approach, just know that it only takes one chink in that chain and your entire project is going to go to pot. It takes one person to let you down. If you've got 10 contractors on there, it takes one contractor to mess up the entire job. Again, main contractor approach, it's their problem. It's their problem to manage, and you've just got to pay that fee at the end. And that's the main difference, financial differences and time differences between the two approaches. And once again, this is not to put you off, this is to make you aware of the two approaches with a couple of pros and a couple of cons. So let's get into compliance now. This is a really important, overlooked, and sometimes developers don't even know about this piece and the importance of it. So compliance, you'll have heard me and others rattle on about this phrase CDM on many occasions. CDM stands for the Construction, Design and Management Regulations, and at the time of recording this video we are still working to the 2015 regulations. That is going to be changing very, very soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to find out when that happens, and you'll get the summation from that direct from me as well. So the first thing to note when it comes to compliance, when you're operating either approach, whether you're single point contractor or you are individual trades, there is one duty for you as a client. There are others, but this main duty that's required of you is that you have to ensure that whoever you appoint to deliver your projects, be it single point or individual trades, that they have sufficient skills, knowledge and experience to be able to undertake the role. I'll say that again. You've got to make sure, as a client, as a developer, that the people that you appoint on your projects have the sufficient skills, knowledge and experience to undertake the role. Now, let's look at, firstly, the main contractor. So if you're appointing a main contractor, a single point contractor, a builder to deliver the whole package for you, you do have to still make that check. You as a developer, you as a client, you have to be in a position where you say, this guy has the sufficient skills, knowledge and experience to be able to be appointed into the role that I'm now going to share with you. And that role is a principal contractor. Principal contractor is a role defined in CDM. That is not to be confused with this is my builder, this is my main contractor. They are often one and the same thing, but it's important to know the difference between main contractor and principal contractor. One's a set of roles and responsibilities, which is the principal contractor, and the main contractor is the builder, is the person or the people delivering the project. So principal contractor, if you are going down that one-stop shop route, I would strongly recommend that appointment is made to your main contractor. Mr. Main Contractor, will you act as my principal contractor as well, which is a set of roles and responsibilities. Now, again, you've got to make sure that in order for the main contractor to accept and undertake that role of principal contractor, then they have to have the sufficient skills, knowledge and experience to do so. And the appointment has to be specifically made by you as a developer in writing to that person or organisation that's delivering the works for you. If you do not make that appointment specifically in writing, separate to any other contract that you have in place, the principal contractor becomes you, the developer. You hold on to that appointment by default. So that's it on this side of the fence. If we go over to individual trades, now this is where it gets a little more complex. So you've got a series of individual contractors working on your projects on your behalf. Now, it stands to reason that not one of them is ideally placed to be a principal contractor, because they're all only going to be on the project for their specific part of the work. So the rip-out guys are only there at the beginning, they're not going to be there for during the project, and therefore it would be inappropriate for them to be appointed as the principal contractor. And in this example, what happens more times than anything when you're appointing your individual trade, so again we've got sparky, plumber, plasterer, kitchen fitter, decorators, all employed on a project, and they're all coming in at different times, they're overlapping each other as the project endures. And when you do this, you, the client, you, the developer, hold the role of principal contractor. So as you're holding that role of principal contractor, you also must satisfy the piece of legislation around sufficient skills, knowledge and experience once again. Which means that you, the developer, you, the client, in appointing yourself, albeit by default, in appointing yourself as the principal contractor, a role defined under the CDM regulations, you must be able to demonstrate that you have sufficient skills, knowledge and experience in order to undertake that role and discharge the duties that are listed underneath that role. And if you can't do that, if you ever find yourself in a situation of there's been an accident, an incident, an event or a report, maybe someone's reported you to the council, local authority, HSE, whoever that might be, disgruntled contractor, passerby, member of the public, if they've done that and you're not able to demonstrate sufficient skills, knowledge and experience to have appointed yourself, albeit again by default, as the principal contractor, you're going to find yourself in a bit of a sticky situation. Now, I don't want to go too deep into compliance, that's for a whole other video. That's in a nutshell, the differences between main contractor and individual trades when it comes to appointment of principal contractor. It also should be noted as well, if we're over here on the individual trades route, that you also have a further duty to appoint a principal designer. And a principal designer must always be appointed when there are one or more contractors involved, which in this situation there would be in the individual trade situation. So that's just as another side note. But I will do a full breakdown of the CDM regulations on another video. But for this one, that's the topics that I wanted to handle in answering the question of which is better, one-stop shop or individual trades. It's up to you to make the decision which is better and what the word better means for you. Are you actually saying cheaper? Are you actually saying better in terms of how much energy, effort and input is going to be required from you as a client, you as a developer, before you make that decision? I hope that video has been useful. Comment any questions below, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and make sure that you don't miss out on the next video